Hello and welcome to Book versus Movie, the podcast where we read books that have been adapted into movies, and then we try to decide which we like better, the book or the movie. I am Margot P. of coloniabook.com, and this is my good friend and co-host, Margot D. of Brooklyn Fit Chick.
Hi, everyone.
So this is our if you're new to the podcast, welcome. This is our second annual Mysteries in May, and we decided to dig our heels in and devote the entire month to the incomparable Agatha Christie and the many, many movie adaptations of her work. Today, we'll be talking about Death on the Nile, which we discussed last year, actually. I think we kicked off our first Mysteries in May with Death on the Nile, but we're going to be talking about the newer Kenneth Branagh version and some other stuff too. Before we get into that, we really are so glad that you're joining us today to wherever you are. If you're listening, if you're watching on YouTube, by the way, if you are watching on YouTube, we don't know which of the clips that we're going to be discussing may or may not end up in our final video, but they're very easy to find, as is this film. We are constantly looking for new ideas. We try to give you a brand new episode every single week. And when we say book, we really just mean really what we mean is we cover movies that have been adapted from some kind of original source. It could be a novel, it could be fiction, nonfiction, it could be a play, it could be a magazine article, a song, a poem. As long as there is some kind of source material that we can look at and analyze in the same time as we are watching the film, it's pretty much on the table for us. We've just got to be able to get our eyeballs on the source material, and the movie has to be streaming on a major platform, and that's it. We are no shortage of adaptations out there. We've covered hundreds in our 10-year history. But if you want to see some of the episodes that we've covered, the list of what we've already done, and maybe meet some other listeners of this podcast or interact with us, make your suggestions for future episodes, there's a few places where you can do that on the internet.
We have a basic Facebook page. Be sure to like it. But Margot and I are much more interactive in our private Facebook group, and it's the Book vs. Movie podcast group. And we just talk about movies and film adaptations, a little bit of popular culture, little bits and pieces everywhere. Plus, we have two main lists going. And one is a list of the episodes we've already covered, and one is a list of ideas. And it's a good place to hang out and talk to people. So ask to join that group, and we do keep it nice there. We just talk about books and movies there. We're on Threads, Instagram, and Blue Sky. And at all those places, we're at Book versus a Movie. You spell that all out. And then lastly, we have an old-timey email, Book versus Movie podcast, spelled it out, at gmail.com. Send us your suggestions. And if you would like some stickers, send us an email. Via that email, send us your address, and one of us will drop them in the mail for you.
And if you really enjoy the show and would like to help keep us in books and movies, you can also support us on Patreon.
Yes, Patreon. As Margot said, we've been doing the show for 10 years now. So we're doing everything from 2023. And then previous to that is going on the Patreon wall. Just this past weekend, it was Raise the Red Lantern. Before that, it was The Postman Always Rings Twice. Coming up, we have Mulan. We have the Joy Luck Club. We also in the past, let's just look at some of these. Carmen Jones, Sabrina, Hunt for the Wilder People, Bed Knobs and Broomsticks, The Bad Seed. We have so many great episodes on our Patreon wall. The old episodes are free. You can also sign up for Patreon for free. Also, we'll put all these clips on our Patreon wall for free. So if YouTube isn't giving them to you, you're dying to know, what did they play? What did they play? That's where you could find it. And so everyone who supports us there, thank you so very much. We really appreciate it.
And we also are open if you do go digging in the archives. We had a lot of messages lately from people who have been poking around our archives, which is very flattering. Thank you for doing that. If there's anything on there that you think like we should maybe take another look at, you'd like to hear us have
another crack at it.
Another crack at it. We are totally open to that. We've done it a few times for a few select books and movies. So again, we're going to be talking about Agatha Christie this entire month. Last week, we kind of covered more of the broad strokes. Today, because we're talking about Death on the Nile, I feel like we should talk about her marriage to Sir Max Edgar Lucian Malawan.
Ooh, do you have the intel?
Yeah. So now this is not, his name obviously is not Christie. If you listened last week, you know that, what was his name? Archie? Was that her first husband's name? Um, the
I
first
need to
husband
look it up.
that she has a daughter with, uh, that cheated on her. We'll talk more about that, like, as the month goes on. But then she remarries, and, her second husband, they were married for how long? Let me see here. They got married in
Oh,
1930.
Archibald
And
Christie.
yes,
Yes.
Archibald
Yeah, so
Christie,
she
yes.
was married from Christie, which is where she gets her last name. They were married from 1914 to 1928. And then she had something of a nervous breakdown. And then eventually their marriage broke up. And then she married in 1930 to Max Mallowan. And that was a very
Yes.
successful relationship.
Yes, they were married in 1930, and they were still married when she dies in 1976. And Agatha Christie, as we talked about last week, is a woman who really, by all reason, should have just had a quiet upper middle class life, attending to her garden and belonging to various like ladies societies. Uh, she was a very adventurous spirit, and she was an upper middle class English lady who had a lot of privilege in many ways, but she also had a lot of challenges that she faced as well. And an extraordinarily successful writer, second to, like, Shakespeare and the Bible, I think, is Agatha
Mm-hmm.
Christie. And, Max Mallowan, one of the things that they kind of, uh, bonded over was a passion for archaeology and antiquities, and particularly, um, Egyptology, as it was called at the time. And, Max Mallowan was an archaeologist, that came out of Oxford University and, trained at Nineveh, and he serves in World War II, but they're already married by then. So, I mean, it was just a really, by all accounts, and there are letters, she was passionately in love with this man. He's younger than she is by how much? Let me see. Um, 14 years.
Oh, well, good for her.
Yeah, good for her, right? So, and she was always kind of self-conscious about that she, especially as they got older,
Yeah.
especially standards for men and women being what they are. She always was very self-conscious about that. And but it's very, very clear that she was in love with this man. Like, the really, it's a very sweet, love story, and I mentioned last week, Lucy Worsley's wonderful, biography of Agatha Christie, and she's got really great examples of the letters. I mean, as they got older, it's unclear, um, I mean, it was a different time. We don't really quite know exactly what went on, but the marriage stays pretty darn strong, pretty much all the way through. So she travels with him. They go all over the place. And most, significantly to what we're talking about today, the time that they spend in Egypt, he was a bit of an expert, and so she has a lot of resources to draw on. It's yet another exotic locale for, an exciting Poirot mystery. We talked about last week, we're Evil Under the Sun. Oh boy, I really blanked there for a second. Sorry, guys. Evil Under the Sun, and we've talked before about Death on the Nile, as I've said, and we also discussed, Murder on the Orient Express. And there's kind of a, I don't want to say trope, but there's a device that Agatha Christie often uses where a murder happens in kind of an isolated location, so it can only be a select number of people who could have done it. This is, one of those cases. So, except now, even though we're kind of isolated on this little boat, just like with Murder on the Orient Express, everyone, it's just the people who are on the train, and in Evil Under the Sun, it's just the people who are on this island. Um, what's great about Orient Express and Death on the Nile is that the boat is moving. It's constantly moving from exotic location to exotic location. And it's a peek into this jet-setting pre-World War II, very opulent kind of lifestyle that people led, traveling in a very luxurious and slow
Mhm.
manner. Yeah, I was just watching a video this morning of a woman who I like to watch. I like to follow these people who live on longboats, and they in London, and they live, and they travel the canals, and
Oh,
they
wow.
it's like a houseboat, but it's a specific to travel the canals. They have to be quite skinny, so they've transformed what they call these longboats. So they used to use the canals to ship goods and services before the railway. It was like a main mode of transporting um, everything. And this woman was traveling to from I think from London to Oxford, I think it was, and something happened to her boat. They were going to take the boat, and they weren't able to take the boat. And it was going to be like a 15-hour, or no, a 9-hour trip on the boat. And it was a 15-minute trip on the train, which they ended up taking. So just to give you an idea of like how slow it's not fast. It's not fast. It's slow enough that as they're passing villages and communities along the shoreline of the Nile, they're able to actually talk to the people on the shore from the boat
Right.
and have a conversation and talk back and forth. So we're just, there's no hurry. Why? There's plenty of gin, there's plenty of jazz.
Right.
Why bother? So anyway, Agatha has a lot of personal life experience that she is bringing to some of these books. Especially this is definitely one of those where she's just like packing in all the Egyptology and all of that upper crust um, ennui and the luxury. It's just so much fun, especially at a time where, you know, people reading it were not living that lifestyle. It was a different time by then, and it's definitely like a piece of nostalgia. I'm sure it must have been for a lot of people. It's one of her most popular books, right? So
Mhm.
let's talk a little bit about the plot of Death on the Nile.
It's so yeah, it was published in 1937, and what we have is a socialite. Her name is Lynette Doyle, and she is asking for Hercule Poirot to vacation with her and her new husband to travel on the Nile because she stole this man from her one of her best friends just like 3 or 4 months before. And so she's worried that she's going to find out, her friend's name is Jacqueline, that she's going to come on to the boat and she's going to harass them. I think that's like the worst she can think of. But she also has nice jewels with her. She's very wealthy. He doesn't have any money, but anyway, they fall in love rather quickly.
They go on and on about how very, very good looking he is.
He's American, right? He's
No, Lynette Ridgway, the rich heiress, is the American.
okay.
I forget if she's like half American, half English. She has a home in England. She's very, very, very unlimited wealth. So she's from the US, probably like, your Rhode Island, Newport kind of set. Also has an opulent home in Britain. Again, this is during a time where we're between the wars,
Mhm.
and even, it's the jazz age and things are very opulent, and but the upper classes of in Britain are not quite back where they were before. And so there's a lot of Americans kind of swooping in to high society in England, and she's a little bit that. She's a little bit one of these like American industrial princesses, as they used to call them. Dollar bill, what did they call them? Dollar bill, I forget. Dollar bill nobility or something like that. And she grew up though, but she grew up in England, and her best friend is Jackie Belford.
Mhm.
Belford. And they they are in touch. We get the impression on and off over the years. And Jackie shows up at Lynette's one day and is like, "Oh, I'm so excited! I have to tell you, I'm engaged. I love this man so much, and very significantly, like it's with tremendous emphasis that Agatha Christie puts this in the book. If I can't marry him, I'll die. I'll die. I'll die. And you're like, okay, Jackie, calm down. Um, and she says to Lynette, I need a favor. I love him. He's so gorgeous. He's so handsome. He's so dashing. He's everything I've ever wanted. But um, he doesn't have any prospects of any kind, and he needs a job. And you have this giant estate. Surely you could find a job that he could do. And Lynette is like, well, sure, okay. And she's like, he can be like a grounds manager kind of thing
Yeah,
at her
handyman.
English estate, one of her many estates. He
Right.
can work there. And she's like, yay, Jackie's so happy because now she and Simon will have a future together. Cut to, I forget, it's like 6 months later,
It's not
and
even.
it's so
It's
fast.
3 or 4 months, and she's married to him. And
She's
she's like,
married to him.
they are married, right? And
She
all of a
has
sudden,
swiped her man.
and she's like, okay, I need to hire you because we want to take this fancy trip down but we don't, and we want to invite all of our beloveds with us. But other people can obviously get a ticket and come on board. If she does, she's going to harass us. So we need to hire someone. And Poirot likes to travel. Like if he can do it on somebody's dime, why
He
the hell
enjoys
not?
luxury. Yes.
Right. And he has a taste for luxury. We've talked about Poirot many, many, many times. He's Belgian. But we'll talk about the backstory for him that's introduced in the Branagh version, which I thought was kind of interesting. I thought that
I
was
liked that they touched on that because it's something that Christie alludes to in and out over the course of all of the Poirot novels. So it is kind of nice to have. I did like that about the movie. So there's some very significant differences between this book and the movie that we're going to talk about today. But I want to mention I may have to bring this up every single time just to be really clear that one of the great things about Agatha Christie movies adaptations is that and I don't know if this is a condition of the Agatha Christie estate. I kind of think it is that they have to change some of the details. Some of the characters, whether they've add characters, take characters away, change certain plot points so that people who love the novel and have read it over and over again, and that's just one of the strange things about Agatha Christie, even though it's a mystery, somehow you want to read it over and over again.
my mother
People
did.
just people just love. I've read Death on the Nile several times. And you want to go to the film and be surprised, like, oh, look what they did there. So instead of having it be a school teacher, it's a man and he's a business owner. Oh, I see. No. So there's always some surprises. There's going to be some things that are changed. One of the big things though that I just want to establish a few things that are like really kind of, I feel, really important to the story that this film really deviates from. I felt like kind of a lot. Number one is there is over and over again, as we meet every single character in the novel, and we talked about this last time. The thing about Lynette Ridgway is that she is presented as this golden girl of the jazz age. She's a jazz baby from the USA. Hacha. And she has everything. She can buy and sell whatever she wants and whoever she wants. And every single character that we meet in this novel says that about her. Every single one is like, she's so beautiful. She has everything. She can buy anything. And they're blown away by her beauty, but they don't really like her very much.
She's not a nice person.
She's not a nice person. And
Mm-mm.
we learn this pretty much right away. Pretty much like so we meet the first scene where Jackie shows up and she's like, I'll just die if I can't meet Simon. And Lynette's like, okay, I'll give him a job. And then literally the second scene in the book, we're like, oh, I see. And Lynette is extremely kind of cruel and heartless about what she's done. She's like, well, she's just going to have to get over it. Like she
Right.
literally just told you she will die if she can't marry this man. And you're like, sucks to be you.
Right.
and we learn as we meet each character has some kind of a resentment. Either they've had some interaction with Lynette Ridgway in the past where she stomped all over them, screwed people over, or they just don't like her. They just don't like her because they know what she's like. And when we meet them as a married couple, and Simon too was like, oh, I know, I was such a fool to have ever cared for. I mean, he's awful to her too. I was such a cool fool to have ever cared for her. And we learn that when they married, so she snatches her best friend's man and marries him. And Jackie is not taking it well. She is showing up. She's the ghost at the wedding. She's showing up where she's everywhere they want to be, like Visa. Mm-hmm. She's everywhere they want to be, or is that MasterCard? And she's glowering at them and ruining their good time in the jazz age. And what can they possibly do? They're trying to figure out how to just get on with things and just ignore her, and it's not working very well. So they decided they're taking their honeymoon in Egypt, which rich people was a thing that rich people did. Let's go on the Egypt tour and see the pyramids and see the Sphinx and take the yacht down the Nile. And so naturally, when they are getting ready to, they go to a resort first, I think, some fancy hotel, right? Mm-hmm. And everyone else is also there on a similar kind of a tour, but for different reasons. So this is where we get to meet all of the players in this story. So of course, we have Hercule Poirot. Now, here's also some kind of a police something, right? Who's a friend of Poirot's, and he's also there. And both Poirot and the police guy are both pretending to be on vacation, but they're not really on vacation.
No, his name's Race.
Yes. So we have Lynette Ridgway Doyle, who is our American heiress. We have Simon, who she snatched from her best friend, Jacqueline de Belfort. Mm-hmm. We have we have the Allertons.
Yes, they're very strange.
Very weird, very close mother and son. Just going to leave it there. We're not sure what's going on with the Allertons. Then we have Karl Bessner, who is a doctor. He's a German doctor who is on board. Again, this is between the wars. This is right when Hitler is like really super coming to power. So we've got this doctor. Then we have Mr. Ferguson. So Mr. Ferguson's kind of an interesting guy. We meet him as Mr. Ferguson, and he is on this extremely luxurious trip. There are other ways to go to Egypt. Like if you don't have money or if you're an academic, this is not how you're going to Egypt. But here he is, Mr. Ferguson, and he is expressing disdain for all of the opulence and wealth that he is surrounded with, the colonialism and the way that the white people have imposed their culture on the locals. And he's constantly going on and on and on about it. And like, is he an anarchist? He wears like very not very fancy clothes, like not something that would belie someone who could afford a trip like this. Later on, we learn he is in fact a member of the nobility. But for now, we're like, what's his deal? Why is he on this? Like, if you care about this why are you on this ship? Like, why are you here?
Of all of them, yes.
Of all the ways to come to Egypt, like you chose this? Okay. Then we have James Fanthorpe, who is a young lawyer. We have Guido Ricchetti, who is an archaeologist. We have Fleetwood, who is an engineer who he works on the ship, and he's another guy, like, we don't really know his story right away. Then we have my favorite, Marie Van Schuyler, who was an American. She's an American, just a wealthy, I forget if she's a widow. She's had like several husbands. Again, like everybody's like, what's their deal? And she travels with a nurse named Miss Bowers, delightfully played by Betty Davis and Maggie Smith in the last version that we talked about. And Miss Bowers, we learn, is a cousin of Mrs. Schuyler, who has fallen on some hard times again. It's between the wars, right? She's fallen on some hard times. Her family used to be well off, then they lost everything, and Bowers has been reduced to being the travel companion of her wealthy cousin. Then we have
Cornelia.
Oh, I'm sorry. Cornelia is the poor cousin. I'm putting the two people together. There's Bowers and Cornelia in the book. Then we have Louise Bourget, who is the maid of Lynette Doyle.
Right.
And I'll talk about that in a minute. And then we have my other two favorite characters. These are so fun. We have Salome and Rosalie Otterborn. Now, in the book, and in every other version I've ever seen adapted of this book, Salome Otterborn, what's so fun about her is she's a very famous author, and she's an author of romance novels. But Agatha Christie very deliciously, and at this point she's so famous, Agatha Christie. Like she's hard to convey how globally famous this writer is. And she had that whole very sad period where she had a breakdown after her first husband cheated on her. And she, by all accounts, like, she completely suffered a spell of amnesia. She had a total break with reality and thought she was somebody else, may have even thought she was the mistress of her husband. And she went missing for weeks, I think it was. And she was holed up in like a hotel. But a lot of people thought that it was a publicity stunt because she was just starting to become famous as a writer at that point. And so Agatha Christie in the 1930s is a woman who a lot of people are talking about. She's very, very successful. She's also, as I said, extremely well off. She does not have to be a writer. She doesn't have to work for a living. And yet she's doing this author thing. And she disappeared. Like, it was for attention. Like, what was that about? And she was a character, like I say, a woman who people had a lot of opinions and were always gossiping about in the newspapers and whatnot. And so Agatha Christie in Death on the Nile has taken all of the salacious things and rumors that people have said about her and made them true in the person of Salome Otterborn. Salome Otterborn is all of the worst things that people thought that Agatha Christie was. She's a dilettante, she's a drunk. She's an attention seeking, it's like a heat seeking missile for attention and fame. When she sees Poirot is on this journey with them, she's constantly like milking him for details that she can put into her books. And she's just a very annoying, ridiculous woman. And she has with her as her travel companion her daughter, and who is also sort of like a nursey figure. We have several women in this novel who take care of older women. And so then there's some other people like staff, hotel staff, and all of that. And it's funny because like the staff are almost never like at all involved in the story, but they're just there all the time. I don't know why they're never as suspicious as anybody else, but they never are. So there they are in Egypt, and sure enough, Jackie shows up. To ruin their jazz age trip to Egypt, honeymoon trip. And she's really making a scene. She's really ruining everybody's good time, and she does not care. And another thing I love about this particular novel is it really shows off Poirot's, number one, as you mentioned, his love of luxury. So he's always like, he likes exotic to try exotic foods and exotic places and accommodations and so on. And the other thing he really has a weakness for is young love. And he feels very sorry for he sees everything that has happened, of course, because he's Poirot. And he feels very sorry for Jackie.
Mm-hmm.
And he tries multiple times to be there for her, try to give her good advice. He gives her very good advice about getting on with her life and like, why are you even bothering over this guy? Really? He's as dumb as a post. Like, yeah,
Right.
he's good looking, but like, what
No
on earth are you?
personality. Right.
No, like, let her have him. And she just is not hearing it, not hearing it, not hearing it. In the book, um, actually in every version, but I don't remember her saying it in the Kenneth Branagh one, but in each version of the book, she shows Poirot that she carries this teeny little pistol, like little lady's handbag pistol, like you would fit in a little bitty beaded evening bag. She's like, look at my little pistol. And she also mentions in most of the other versions that she is an ace. She's like a sniper. She's like everyone has remarked on her amazing markswomanship. You're like, okay, Jackie. It's always like, calm down, Jackie. And yeah, she's like, look at my gun. I just want to put a bullet in that woman's head. And then I'm like, okay. So Poirot is very concerned. He notices that everybody around Lynette Ridgway has an axe to grind with her.
Mm-hmm.
With good reason, with very good reason. She is not a likable person, and we see her being not a likable person throughout the novel. We learn over the course of as they're traveling and as they're on the ship, and Jackie. They sneak away. The ship is supposed to be a ruse to evade Jackie. They suddenly, on the spur of the moment, decide to take this cruise on the Nile when they originally were going to go do something else. They were going to, I don't remember, take a train or I don't remember what all. But then Jackie shows up. How does she know that we were here? There she is. So, as everybody is going down the Nile and Jackie's like being a sourpuss and ruining everybody's good time, we learn about all of the ways that Lynette and her family have ruined people's lives,
Mm-hmm.
starting with her maid, her poor maid. Her maid, Louise, who Jackie really orders around. I mean, of course, yeah, okay, she's a maid, okay, but she's not very nice about it. And we learn also that Jackie forbade the maid, basically blackmailed the maid to keep her from leaving her and getting married. The woman was in love. Louise was in love with the young man. And Lynette's like, nope, he's not good enough for you. You're not marrying him. And she would not, she made it so that, how can I put this? So that Louise was sort of indentured to her.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, she was not paying her, which is called wage theft and is against the law.
Yes.
By the way, if you're experiencing that, that is against the law. So Louise, poor Louise, is stuck with this woman till when? Who knows? And she treats her just abominably. And so there's that. And then we learn also that Bowers, Mrs. Schuyler's nurse, Bowers' family was, or maybe it was, I'm sorry, maybe it's the cousin. I'm getting getting the versions confused. The cousin who is Cornelia.
Mm-hmm.
The poor cousin of Mrs. Schuyler. Cornelia's, the way that her family lost all their money was that the Ridgways cheated her father and absolutely ruined him. And it just destroyed everything. It destroyed their lives. And here she is stuck with Mrs. Schuyler on this ship on the Nile. And everybody has some story like that that's connected to the Ridgways. And so it's a lot of the novel is all of that kind of coming out. And Poirot's like, that's very interesting. We also learned that Mrs. Schuyler, who's very crotchety and very fun to read, she's extremely cranky for a woman who's on a dream vacation. We also learned that she, for all of her money and everything, she's a kleptomaniac. She likes to steal jewelry. And so
we all need a hobby, Margot.
I know. So when she meets Lynette Ridgway on the Nile, she's like, "Oh, those are some nice pearls." In the book, it's a pearl necklace. "Oh, nice pearls you got there." And Browers is like, "Don't even think about it. I know what you're doing. I know what's up. We're not doing this. Not now. Not on a boat. We're like there's only 6 of us here. Like, what are you doing?" Um So, yeah, so it's a lot of that. There's a lot of, like, learning about all of the ways that Lynette and her family have screwed people over to get to where they are. And Lynette is becoming increasingly paranoid. There's a scene where they're visiting, a temple or something like that, and this humongous boulder
Abu
drops out of
Simbel.
the sky. Abu Simbel. This
Right.
giant boulder drops from the sky and very nearly crushes her. So she's just becoming and Jackie has just straight up said she's gonna shoot her. So
But
so
she's
she's
on the boat when it happens, so she has an
yes,
alibi.
she
But
has an alibi.
we're meant to understand that there are a lot of people who don't like Lynette or don't
Yes.
have a problem with her. So they have that close call where there's going to be a boulder that hits them. They get back on the boat and they're going along, and it's Jackie and I forget who else, and Simon
Yeah,
and
there are witnesses, right? So it's
right.
late. Oh, so here's another thing. So if you know and you have to remember, like, people reading this book know Hercule Poirot. Really, I'm saying I have so much trouble with French, y'all. I'm so sorry. They really know a lot. We know things about him because Agatha Christie, as I said, she likes to drop these little breadcrumbs about his life. You know, he was a refugee. He was a star, law enforcement officer in Belgium. He this and that. One of the things that we know about Poirot is that he is an extremely light sleeper. Everything wakes up Hercule Poirot. In Death on the Nile, that was one of the things. I mean, not Death on the Nile, Murder on the Orient Express. Like, he was bolted awake by like the slightest little, just a little noise, just jolted him awake, and that's how he was able to solve the murder. So, everybody's kind of having that after dinner drinky time, and Poirot is having a little glass of something, and he's like, "Oh, man, I don't know, like, if it's the heat or the little
The
bit of
fact he's
alcohol,
sick. Yeah.
something, I just cannot keep my eyes open."
Right.
And so he's like, Gosh, guys, sorry, I'm gonna just turn in early, I'm gonna go to bed." So he is sound asleep, and everybody else is in the lounge, or, at least a lot of people's, and, and Jackie is because Jackie's got a Jackie. She's going to start something with because she's bored. She's going to start something with um
Simon.
Lynette and Simon. And Lynette is like, "I just can't. I'm going to bed and I'm taking a sleeping pill and just don't even bother me and good night." And so that leaves Jackie and Simon and all the other people. And so Jackie is pushing him and pushing him and pushing him. And they get into this argument. And she pulls her teeny little gun out of her teeny little handbag and shoots him in the leg. And right away, she's like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
What
I'm so
was they
sorry."
thinking? Oh my God,
Yeah,
oh my
she has
God.
this
So
breakdown.
she has a conniption. So he's grabbing his leg, and they could see, they think it's red blood that's coming out of his knee. So
He falls and appears to have he grabs his hanky and he puts it over his knee, and they see what looks like blood on the hanky, and he's like, "Get her out of here and get me a doctor." And so
they
who
kick
is
the gun underneath there. And so Jackie is taken away by her nurse, and she,
Jackie is taken away. I can't remember if it's the maid. No. It's yeah, it's like Bowers, or I think it's Bowers who takes Jackie away. And cuz Bowers is a nurse, and Jackie is now having just a full giant meltdown. And
right.
so Bowers takes her away, gives her a sedative, and kind of lies down with her, puts her down for the night. And she's like, "Don't worry, I will just be staying up. I'm going to keep an eye on her. I will not leave her alone. I don't want her waking up and like doing something to harm herself. I am not leaving." So Bowers stays with Jackie, and the other people in the lounge run to get the doctor, who has also been screwed over by Lynette and by the Ridgway somehow. I forget exactly what that story is. And the doctor comes back and he's like, oh yeah, bullet wound. So let's get it, let's stop the bleeding. And he gets the thing dressed up. And now Simon is laid up. Simon cannot walk because he's been shot in the leg.
Yeah. So he's bedridden.
So he's bedridden. And so he's and they keep him there in the lounge. I think he spends the night in the lounge. And that's the drama for the night, everybody thinks, and they all go to bed. And then the next morning, Poirot's like, whoa, boy, was I asleep. My goodness. And there's a scream, and it's the maid. And she has gone in to wake Lynette for her breakfast. And Lynette is dead with a bullet right through the temple, just like Jackie said she was going to do. Only Jackie couldn't have done it because she was sedated as well. So,
right.
Yeah, so she was
so
with Bowers all night. Everybody's got an alibi. Unlike last time where we had one couple that had no alibi, which was kind of fun to throw in the mix. So Poirot does his question, and that's another fun thing about those novels. Like his questioning of everybody, and you learn that everybody has a motive to kill this woman, not just Jackie. Even though, yes, she was killed exactly the way that Jackie said she was going to kill her. And another thing that often happens is the simplest solution is generally what it ends up being. So after, so he's doing in the middle of his questioning of each individual, and for some reason he questions the maid in Simon's presence. And the maid says, oh, I didn't see anything. I mean, the only way I would have seen something is if I happened to be out on the deck and happened to see the murderer run into her room and then run out again. But of course I didn't see that. And she starts crying, and Simon's like, don't worry, we'll take care of you. And you're like, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
So sure enough, she's the next one to get it. They find her in the book, they find her dead, and her hand is clutching some torn money. And so now we've got how many? We're two bodies. And then so Poirot's like, okay, great. So now I'm questioning about two murders. So he's continuing to question everybody. And Mrs. Audubon, and this is the thing. Okay. I love this scene. Because it's funny. I'm sorry, but it is funny. It's tragic, but it's also a little funny. Miss Audubon comes running in. She is so excited, and she has to talk to Poirot right now. She's like, I've done it. I've solved this murder. I've done it. You could see like the dollar signs in her eyes and the fame and the fortune that's going to befall her. She's so excited. She said, I figured out who did it. I know who did it. I know who killed the maid. And I saw it. So it could only have been, and I've got all the pieces of the puzzle, and the murder is, and a shot rings out.
And she's dead.
Right in the head. And she is now gone. And Poirot's like, great. Awesome. Now I have 3 murders on my hands. And people are getting a little upset with Poirot. He's not solving this murder fast enough. And the bodies are piling up. And so, anyway, there's lots of fun details of chasing and mistaken identities and clues and all kinds of
the stolen necklace, and then
the stolen necklace is a whole thing. They find the necklace, but it's not the real necklace, it's fakes. And then the real necklace mysteriously reappears. Lots of fun stuff. So, okay, again, we're going to spoil everything this month.
Right,
so
right. We'll cut to the chase because, yeah.
Here's the deal. It's very similar to the last story that we talked about. We have a secret couple. So Jackie and Simon were never not together. The whole thing was a plan to secure them with cash for life. So, and Jackie was the mastermind. So again, it's the simplest solution. The woman who said, hey, I'm going to shoot her through the head is the one who shot her through the head. Jackie wanted them to have money. So she knew that Lynette, because she knows Lynette really well. She knows that if I put this man in Lynette's path, she's going to swipe him. And that's exactly what she did. So you, Simon, you snag Lynette, get her to marry you. Then we'll get rid of her. and you will get all of her cash and we will be set for life. You will eventually rediscover your love for me and we'll get remarried and we'll live off of Lynette's cash from here on out. How about that? So, it was all very carefully planned. Let me see if I remember all of the details. So, Jackie, when she shoots Simon in the lounge in front of witnesses, she shoots blanks. So he pretends to be shot.
Right.
And the quote unquote blood on the hanky is actually nail polish. And so he's like, And so he tells everybody to get the doctor. So they all leave him alone in the lounge while they rush to get the doctor. He, in his stocking feet, so nobody hears him, he then runs into Lynette's room because she's taken a sedative. So she is sound asleep. He shoots her in the head and then runs back to the lounge, wraps the gun in a scarf to muffle the sound, and shoots himself in the leg. So when the doctor comes back, he now has a genuine gunshot wound. He also makes it look as though only two shots have been fired out of the gun instead of 3. And then so now he has an alibi and Jackie has an alibi. So the timing of the murder, because again, we don't have the same amount of science that we have now. So the timing of the murder is not as clear as it is, as it would be today. So, so Simon is actually the one who shot Lynette and Jackie, but Jackie is the one who orchestrated the whole thing. She is the mastermind. And Poirot does, the whole thing, get everybody in the room and explain how you could have done it and you could have done it. And also you could have done it. But no, actually it's who we thought it was all along. It's Jackie.
And Simon. They're
Jackie and Simon. And Simon completely crumbles like a house of cards. Yes, I did it. And Jackie's like, "Ugh, really? This guy?" And so the police, now we have we've got 3 bodies on board, and they arrange for the police to be meeting them at the next port to arrest Jackie and Simon. And Jackie says, "Can I at least say goodbye to him?" And they're like, "Yeah, we suppose. I guess you did it all for love." And then she very quickly, before anybody can stop her, shoots Simon, shoots herself. Now we got 5 bodies. And that's the end of the story. Now, there's a few people on the board who do find on board the ship who do find love.
Mm-hmm.
So there are some happy endings among all of the very tragic deaths that happen on the ship. But that's the end of the story. I mean, it's so much fun. And she takes you on this like whole thing and all the like the exotic locations and all of that, all for it to be the person that you thought it was going to be from the very beginning.
Yeah.
There you go. Agatha Christie. Love it.
And it's been adapted many, 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 many times.
Oh, so many times.
So I was looking at IMDb, and Margot, we both love BritBox, and they have the David Suchet versions of Poirot. So I saw that version of this.
Yeah, with Emily Blunt.
And it's also the woman who played Vera in Dolores Claiborne.
I know.
Yes. She's in there too. It's a great cast. It's really
good cast. Yeah.
So the one we decided to cover this year for this episode is the one from Kenneth Branagh. It was released in 2022. I don't remember being knocked out by it when I first saw it. I liked Murder on the Orient Express very, very much, and I was looking forward to it. I don't think I hated it. We're going to talk about now because I think I liked it a little bit more than you did, this version. Mm-hmm. We'll see what happens. I like Kenneth Branagh. I just like his ideas. I think he's an interesting actor.
Too. I don't know. I just have a hard time getting on board with his Poirot. I don't know what it is.
It's different.
I know it's a different take, and I don't know why my mind is resistant to it, but it is.
So let's play the trailer. So this is the 2022 trailer, and we'll get right into this version, this adaptation.
To fill the Nile.
Should have hidden it, shouldn't you?
When you have money, no one is ever really your friend.
It's too late to change events. It's time to face the consequence.
Someone is dead. The crime is murder.
Never again
The murderer is one of you. Were you aware of any grudges?
Madame is used to getting what she wants.
Never again is what you
I don't feel safe here. I don't feel safe with any of them.
There are so many conflicting hates and jealousies.
Oh, I like this.
Did you see or hear anything?
I did not trust her. I still don't.
What did you do last night?
You accused me of murder.
He accuses everyone of murder.
It is a problem, I admit. The murder was methodically planned.
Find who did this.
You are mad. Can I not trust you?
What do you want me to say?
Someone else is dead.
You lie in my face! Lock the doors!
The murderer is here. And will stay here.
It's a good trailer.
It's a great trailer. Good use of Depeche Mode. I didn't even remember that. I was like, that's pretty damn good. So there's right off the bat, let's just say there's a couple of canceled people that are in this production that it's Armie Hammer. We all heard Armie Hammer's story, and Russell Brand, who's just been indicted for sexual assault. He's going to be going for trial for that. Armie's in there. You can't help it because he plays Simon. Russell Brand, they have him dressed up in a certain way. I didn't even know it was him for a second there. He's much different than he is.
Oh, I did.
Get him to the Greek and stuff like that. Yeah,
I did.
But anyway, so you do have to understand that. But they've made some really interesting choices in here. They've combined some characters, and instead of having in the book, he has Race, who's he's like a Secret Service guy. That's like his, whatever. Here he has a friend named Book, and his played by Tom Bateman, and he was also in Murder on the Orient Express.
Yes.
So he and his mother Euphemia, who's played by Annette Bening, they meet up in Egypt at the Nile. We have Ali Fazal is Andrew Cacciatore.
Yes. Oh, we forgot to mention. I was going to say we forgot. Can you hear me? Did I get disconnected? Yeah. Okay. I'm so sorry to interrupt, but important character we forgot to mention was Uncle Andrew in the book. So Uncle Andrew is Lynette Ridgway's, he's not really her uncle. He's her financial advisor. And we learned that because she married Simon without telling anybody. They don't announce the wedding until they're going on their honeymoon. And Uncle Andrew shows up in Egypt like, oh, I didn't know you were here. And hey, you got married. Since we ran into each other, I just happen to have these estate papers. If you wouldn't mind just signing them while we're here. So we learned that Uncle Andrew has been, rather than being somebody that Lynette has taken advantage of or her family has hurt or taken advantage, he is taking advantage of Lynette. He's been embezzling from her, and he needs her to sign some papers so that he doesn't get found out. And spoiler alert, he does get found out. Of course he does. So that character of Uncle Andrew is played by Ali Fazal, like you just mentioned. Here he's Lynette's cousin, Andrew, which I really like. I really like that as a choice.
Oh, I love it. So we have Dawn French and Saunders.
Saunders are in this.
They're Marie von Schuyler and her nurse, but they're also lovers. Gal Gadot is our Lynette Ridgway. So in all the other versions, she's this platinum blonde, but we get Gal Gadot and her Israeli accent here. Armie Hammer is Simon. Rose Leslie is Louise. Emma McKay is Jackie de Belfort. I'm sorry. And they have very successful careers. Sophie Okonedo is Salome. So she's a jazz singer. And I think she's based on Big Mama Thornton, also Sister Rosetta Tharpe.
Mm-hmm.
who was a jazz guitarist and probably really invented rock and roll. She's like before Rocket
Pretty
88
much.
and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's a big deal. And then Letitia
Right.
Wright plays Rosie. That's her niece, but she's also her business manager.
Yeah.
And Susanna Fielding is Catherine. So we open. I'd like to talk about the opening only because Branagh wants to bring some backstory of Poirot. That's going to be his defining thing. That it's like everyone I think knows David Suchet mainly as Poirot. I mean, people that are Agatha Christie geeks. And I said that I posted in the Facebook group, there's going to be a show coming out. Like he's going to be traveling to all the places that Agatha Christie went to.
So excited.
Very exciting.
There is an episode of the David Suchet series that alludes to his young love when he's like a young officer. I can't remember which one it is, which of the episodes it is. But as I said, these are little details about Poirot that get sprinkled in the novels, kind of just throughout all of the novels. But it's not something that we necessarily get in any of the adaptations, unless you have something like the series where we have the time to really explore it. So I do really like that choice to have like a little prologue, a little
about him. And so it's World War I, and he's fighting with the French, and he comes up with a plan to beat the Germans, like to sneak on them ahead of time. And so they do, and they're successful. But unfortunately, his commander is killed because he zigged when he should have zagged. Basically, he winds up in a hospital, and he has scars on his face from the action. And he wakes up, and this woman he's madly in love with sees him, and she said, he's basically like, go away. You don't want to be with me. He's been through some stuff. He's been through some trauma, and he's got this horrible injury on his face. And she says to him, well, you could grow a big mustache. And she loves him. You could tell, like, she really loves him, but it doesn't work out. And so this love that he lost in his life is one of the many things that kind of motivates him as a person. So he comes across as very fastidious and a loner and peculiar and blah. I don't need people. I'm just, I just keep to myself. But he is a very lonely man. He does recognize some people are very happy and some people aren't.
Yeah. And it also explains, his weakness, because if you want, he would call it that, I think, for young love. Like, he just cannot resist helping young people in love.
He doesn't want them to make the mistake he did.
He doesn't want them to make mistakes. Exactly. And so he really empathizes. He empathizes, even though he knows that what Lynette did was wrong and mean and cruel. He nevertheless is like, oh, but they're in love. And he also, on the other hand, what's the word I'm thinking of? He has empathizes. Oh my gosh, I suddenly blanked on empathizes. He empathizes with Jackie because she's had her heart broken,
right.
and he sees that she's about to make some very, very bad life choices, and he's trying to help her. So, but I like, so having that prologue really helps us understand in a way that you don't necessarily get in the other versions of this. So I really appreciated that choice.
It's for people also that like just aren't, experts on Poirot. I mean, it will just give you a little bit of an entryway into this is why this man is as quirky as he is. I get it. And then it doesn't become a distraction. So yeah. And the jazz music is incredible.
The music in this is so good.
And the art direction is great. I love the boat.
A lot of good things.
The girl deckhands. I guess it's all like female deckhands that I help with.
I guess.
I was like, this is great. I mean, I think it's incredible. I think let's play the clips because it opens up with Poirot and Bouc. And it says the Annette Bening clip. We'll play that. So he has a friend that he's gonna, and
so we take, so they're taking the place of that really weird mother and son, the
Yes.
Allertons, in the novel. And I really like this. This is a choice I really do like very much. I love them. I think they're, it's just I love that we have Book back. uh, it's nice that, instead of having, in the novel and in the other adaptation where there's that other, detective that's there.
Mhm.
That's a friend of Poirot's. We have Book from the previous movie. And I just think that's a great choice. And I love Annette Bening as his mother. Terrific. Absolutely terrific.
Cannot find her red paint. And that she needs that for one of her colors, but she cannot find her red paint. So we have a jazz singer and her niece. We have a whole group. When there's so much chemistry, they have great chemistry, Gal Gadot and Simon Armie Hammer. They just do. They all look beautiful in what they're doing. And
Everybody's gorgeous.
everybody's
And
insanely beautiful.
I think she's a great choice. I like her. I like the selection of Gal Gadot. I'm not at all bothered by her the accent. It's fine. Who cares? She's an international jazz baby. My only thing about it is she's not mean. She's not.
No.
We don't see her. We see her being like, oh, Louise will do all of the work, without me mentioning it to her ahead of time. Like, guess what, Louise, you're packing everybody's bags. But it's not that same level of cruelty that Lynette has in the book. So we, the viewer now, as opposed to when you're reading the book, like when you're reading the book, like you do not like Lynette. The reader is not. Lynette's going to get it, and you maybe don't feel bad about that. Whereas in this film, like when she says she's scared, like you feel for her. Like I just feel like there's not. It's much more that she's so beautiful and everybody loves her. Like, what's your name? Russell Brand's character is just in love with her. Like she didn't really like they broke it off, but it wasn't like she was just mean and cruel to him. She's much less, she's
Of a
much less
villain.
mean. She's much less of a villain in this. And I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. So so Jackie does show up, and I kind of want to play this clip too, because like we're just talking about how gorgeous everybody is and the art direction of this film. I mean, it is pretty spectacular.
It's gorgeous. Yeah. They really spent a lot of time. You can tell. It's gorgeous. Here we go.
This is a Hollywood production. I mean, they're going to.
Oh, it really is.
Like that. That's my whole point. Like it's just like next level gorgeous.
Yeah. But yeah, I have these. I feel like another thing, like with Lynette not being mean enough, and while I absolutely love, Sophie Okinoto and Letitia Wright as the Otterborns, and I love the characters. I love their story. I love Letitia Wright's chemistry with Tom Bateman, and
they're a couple.
They're a couple, and Sophie Okinoto has like a sort of flirty thing going on with, and I like that too. I think that I really like all of that, but the fact that we don't have. Oh, and then also, I want to talk also about Dawn French and Jennifer Saunders. So again, we're kind of shifting, playing a little bit of a mix and match with the characters, which is very par for the course for a Christie adaptation. We have Jennifer Saunders playing Mrs. Schuyler, and Mrs. Schuyler here is also the same character as that Lord Dawlish in the book, he's a nobility, but he is also a socialist.
Right.
And so she's that character. And so the fact that we have her being that character and we have Salome being the blues artist that she is, who's a very serious artist. And I like both of those characters very much,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't have the rich Mrs. Schuyler, who is also a kleptomaniac. And we don't have the Mrs. Otterborn, the ridiculous romance writer. And those two characters, the fact that they are comic relief isn't really the right word, but they are the ones who are really lampooning this class of people. And we don't really have that element, I feel like, in this movie. We don't really have making fun of the rich. We're more like, it's more eye candy, and it's a little more like aspirational than it is critical of that set of people.
Mm-hmm.
And I really feel like we're missing that.
Salome is interesting because, you know, she is a Black character in a Christie novel. She's I love the fact when he talks about her turban, he goes, "Aren't those out of style?" And she's like,
"Oh, I love it.
I'm wearing it." But she's got herself a little bit of a handgun in there. I mean,
I love all her scenes.
Yeah, she's been through some stuff. But the thing is that I never think either one of them would have anything to do with the murders. So
No.
I'm kind of like, you know, it would have been more, like if they were a little bit more about making sharp observations about the wealthy.
They could have had another person in there. Like, you know, we were playing mix and match. Like, you can't tell me you didn't have the budget to have, like, you know, even one, like, you know, stupid, you know, rich guy who is on his sixth wife or something, you know, something to give us a little bit of that element. I feel it's really missing. And so because of that, it doesn't have quite the levity that it doesn't quite have. There's a little bit of a lightness missing out of it, even though I do like Kenneth Branagh's Poirot in this movie a lot more than I did. And I think it's much more developed here. And that prologue is really nice. There's a lot of things I like about this movie, but I do feel like we are really missing that element that so many Christie works have of not putting these wealthy people up on a pedestal. I think we've done that here. And so it doesn't bubble along as steadily as I think it would have otherwise. Although like I say, I love what they did with Schuyler and Bowers, and I love what they did with the Otterborns. I feel like we could have just given us somebody back to give us that little element in to be the ridiculous. We're not getting that ridiculousness in any way here. And that's, I feel like that's a missing ingredient.
Yeah, no, I agree. So we do lose the maid, and her body is found. He does go through the whole rigmarole of deducing who did what and to whom. And it ends with, and I like the way it ended in, like, there's like an interrogation room. Basically, it's one of the decks on the ship. But in the end, it is who we said it was. It's Simon and Jackie. They were in cahoots. And he's basically saying to them, well, you know, when we get to port, you're going to get arrested. And sorry, but that's the way it goes. And then she sneaks and has a gun. And then she was able to shoot both of them. And
because she's an expert.
She is an expert
sharpshooter, which she doesn't say, I don't think, in this film. I don't think she mentions that.
No.
But it's something that's like very pointedly said in the book.
Right.
And that's why she was able to shoot, in this case, Book. In the book, it's Mrs. Otterborn. But she shoots, I mean, that's a very precise shot to get him like right in the throat like that. But it's because she's such an expert markswoman. And But yeah, I mean, there are many. I just think I love the ship. The ship is beautiful,
Mhm.
beautiful. The lighting is gorgeous. The costumes are gorgeous. The music is perfect. I love the addition of the jazz and the blues. Very different from when we talked about last week, Evil Under the Sun, where it was all very Cole Porter,
Mhm.
instrumental, which worked very well for that. But I like because she is an American and she's supposed to be an American. It's that nice. It's a nice element that's added with the jazz music. Um, I mean, I liked it. I liked it. It's just not my. I have to say, and we talked about the David Suchet one just briefly, which is also very good. It's not anywhere near the production value of this one.
No, no,
Not
no,
even
no.
close.
It's a few thousand less, I would say, than the budget they had for
Just
this
a smidge.
movie. Just a smidge. But
Um,
it's great to have all these British character actors
Yeah.
doing
Oh,
these
yeah.
parts. Oh my
I,
God.
I gotta say though, I think my favorite one is the Peter Ustinov one. I
Yeah.
think that's my favorite version. As we've said many times, like I just want a movie with Betty Davis and Maggie Smith as Schuyler and Bowers,
Just sniping at each
arguing,
other.
just sniping, and Maggie Smith manhandling Betty Davis, and I'm here for it. I do love the way that they did Schuyler and Bowers though in this film. I thought was very good. Although, I mean, you have French and Saunders, and they're not very
Funny.
funny.
No, and
Yeah,
that's the whole point, is
and
they're a comedy duo.
I mean, I cannot tell you how much I adore French and Saunders. I think I've seen every single thing they have ever done. Is she supposed to be American?
I
Is
think
that
that
an American accent we're
so
doing?
can you play the clip? It's called The Last Scene because we do have
Yeah.
her.
Yeah, let's look at it.
So yeah, it ends on a down note.
I know, but I mean, of all of the I must say, of all of the versions of that scene, that one
That's
is
really well done.
beautifully done.
It's beautifully done. I like
Wow.
they're wrapped up as mummies basically because they're in each. I know
Yeah.
that I thought that was
Yeah.
really,
I
and it was
mean,
a really interesting cast. And
I do really love that scene. I think it's so like to start with the aerial and the gorgeous. Very interesting things that he does in this film and with the aerial. There's a lot of aerial shots. There's a lot of shots from below the water surface of like the anchor dropping and the ship and people looking into the water and there's a lot of stuff like from underneath the water, which is very interesting. Yeah, that scene is absolutely stunning. It's It's really beautiful. I do think that of all of the versions, that's the best version of that scene that I've seen. Um, but book or movie?
I guess I'll go for the book because that's the it's where we get all the ideas for the other ones.
Yeah, I'm gonna go for the book too. Um, I think the characters are more fun. It's more fun. Like again, Death on the Nile, the book, you're gonna want to read it over and over and over again. I don't know that I want to watch this over and over again.
Right.
It's such a
Right.
bummer.
Yeah. But it's really well. I mean, and then there's a scene after that where he's at a nightclub where
Which
she's
I
playing.
love.
Yeah, I loved
I
it
love
too.
that.
And I think he shaves his mustache.
He
But
does.
you don't know, like, is she there? Does she know that he's there? Are they really
Mhm.
meeting up, or is he just giving it a shot? He's shooting a shot finally. I don't know. You don't know. Yeah, it's a little sadder, but I don't know. But I thought it was well worth the time. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's a gorgeous film. It's just not, it's just a super bummer, and, it's not as, like, Real Housewives,
yeah,
it doesn't have that element to it, which I miss. But I do I would even go so far as say I like it better than the David Suchet version.
yeah. I think so too. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So let's talk about what we're doing next. This is very exciting.
So it's based on The Mousetrap, which is her play. The movie is called See How They Run, and it has Sam Rockwell and Saoirse Ronan. Is that how you say it?
I think so.
Ruth Wilson, Adrian Brody, Charlie Cooper. It's got a really interesting cast. It's from 2022. It's very easy to get your hands on. It's a play. Those are usually for us really quick to read. And it's one of the most successful plays of all time, if not the most successful play of all time. The Mousetrap.
It's certainly the longest running play in the world, in history.
So that's coming up next. But as you heard from us before, we're always looking for suggestions. So please reach out to us at all those places I mentioned at the top of the show. Our email, once again, is bookversusmoviepodcast@gmail.com. And Margot, where can they find you?
You can find me online at coloniabook.com, and all my social media callouts are at She's Not Your Mama. And where can they find you?
You can find me at brooklynfitchick.com. I'm at Brooklyn Fitchick for Threads and Instagram, and I'm at Brooklyn Margot for TikTok and Blue Sky, and at my name for YouTube. My name is Margot Donahue. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back soon with a new episode.